Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid Atlantic Championship Wrestling Review series, and this is the first show of 1982. January 2nd, 1982 is this particular edition, and 82 is going to be a good year. I have not watched all of these all the way through, so good run for me. Just kind of fun to enjoy. Charlie Fulton and Chris Markoff against Roberts and Youngblood. Jake Roberts having multiple tag team partners throughout the time period. Don't really understand the concept of a multi-tag team partner deal there. Youngblood, one of the top baby faces at the time. Drop kicks and other basic things, kind of doing a Native American thing, almost like a mini Wahoo McDaniel sort of thing. Youngblood, of course, also teaming with Ricky Steamboat at times throughout, which we will see over the next several months. Fulton comes in with Jake Roberts, and they grapple for position. One thing I like about Mid Atlantic is they have a more sports-based, wrestling-based competition nature to things. Jay Youngblood managing to get a couple of tie-ups there, kind of rolling back onto the shoulder, simple maneuvers, and again, Youngblood managing to get things going there. Kind of staying on. Roberts comes back in. Roberts much leaner than he is in later years. And the heels get a cinch up on arm bars on Youngblood. Youngblood does, though, manage to fight out from underneath. And, the brawling of both heels leading to forearms and other very basic maneuvers, but more towards striking related, leading to temporary takeover. They're given about a total of about 10 minutes in the whole way there, and eventually Youngblood and Roberts are victorious nonetheless. Roddy Piper comes out basically saying that he is tired of being accused of not, defending his championship or being good enough. Also, starting to talk about the 1981 Most Impressive Wrestler of the Year award, and Piper is very angry about not being taken more seriously for that award. Piper is probably the one of the biggest influences in Mid Atlantic at the time, and that will continue through the majority of '82 and '83. Obviously, he leaves for the WWF in '84. We move to the next in the series of matches. Ivan Koloff, Ron Ritchie. Koloff still, I believe, your television champion. Ron Ritchie gets a head scissors takeover. Ritchie actually looks pretty good at the time and manages to hit a couple of drop kicks, head scissors, and other flashy maneuvers. Koloff still managing to do the Russian bear gimmick, which he does through the majority of the 80s. Kick to the back, and he certainly goes after his opponent. Koloff also manages body slams, bear hugs, and other power-related maneuvers. Has not brought forth the sickle yet. Backdrop, and eventually, obviously, Ivan Koloff victorious in pretty quick order going forward, using the top rope knee drop this time and getting the victory there. Then kind of bringing the man back forward, trying to get a little extra, even hanging him upside down in the corner, punch kick, and very dominant. They're hyping a local area show tomorrow night in Roanoke, Virginia. High school shows still the norm at the time. Basic stuff there, and I think wrestling misses that. Armories and high schools and all of that. Um, the One of the Super Destroyers is going to have his mask removed. Lord Alfred Hayes, who is phenomenal in the area, is annoyed that people are calling Super Destroyer Super D. He basically insinuates that everyone is trying to humiliate him. Again, promo from Koloff basically saying that he believes that people should treat him with a greater deal of respect because of his Russian heritage. Then we move to the next in the series of matches here, which happens to be a Ray Stevens Tony Russo match. Stevens with a head scissors takeover. Russo basically an enhancement talent who's here pretty consistently. Wouldn't say all the time, but more often than not. Russo kind of coming into his own, kind of cranking on the arm of Stevens a little bit. Not too terribly much, but manages to do what he can where he can. And Stevens back with the head scissors and then the bombs away. From the top, Stevens now a baby face, which is weird for the time. Stevens primarily a heel. Would love to have seen 70s Stevens, and but that doesn't come together fully because the footage isn't there. Jake Roberts cuts a promo about how he wants to be one of the best teams in the world. Puts some steam behind Barry Windham Jr. Windham Jr. also here, and says basically that in fact he is going to continue his foray. Glad to have his father's support, Jake Roberts' support, and others. And Ray Stevens says he will give the championship belt not back to Ole Anderson, but they will eventually meet up somewhere down the road. But he will give it back to the promotion. A tournament across several promotions is then later announced. We go back to Blackjack Mulligan Jr. versus Bill White in a singles match. I think this is the first time for White, at least the first time in the foray of matches I've seen. Deep arm drags and such by aka Wyndham, Blackjack Mulligan Jr. Deep matches there. And then we kind of see him hooking up on a head scissors, kind of doing a bit of a handstand out of the head scissors. Mulligan Jr., much more power, but he's lean. He doesn't really bulk up till 83, 84. So it's just interesting there. European or short uppercuts, body slams, and the like by Blackjack Mulligan Jr. and hits the knee drop, among other things. Manages to do what he can where he can, and again, kind of gets some ride time on an arm bar, tries to stay on his man as long as he can, and manages to do everything within his power. Hits kind of a 5-arm and gets the victory there by pretty simple deal. Also, we begin to see Barry Windham, a.k.a. Blackjack Mulligan, using the Bulldog, which he does use here in order to get the final victory of the match. And that Bulldog becomes synonymous with Barry Windham throughout his career, which is kind of interesting. Various people, such as the Jay Youngblood and Johnny Weaver, both saying they want to be in the Armory in West Virginia tomorrow, and basic stuff there. Not exactly promos that you're gonna hang your hat on, but it's here. Sergeant Slaughter has a matchup next here. Slaughter is actually Slaughter and Private Jim Nelson facing off against Terry Taylor and Mike Davis. Taylor, again, your 1981 primary rookie of the year, standing with Slaughter, who is your U.S. champion or has been for quite a while. Kind of an interesting thing there. Obviously, big things to come for Taylor. Taylor takes the majority of punishment. Nelson, who becomes Boris Zukov, is a pretty aggressive guy at the time. Slaughter not exactly wanting to waste a whole bunch of energy. So Davis, who is more of a rookie, takes the majority of punishment from Slaughter and Nelson at the time. Nelson takes Davis into the corner. Obviously, it's clear that Taylor is seen as the guy with the larger upside just by the way he's treated. Sergeant Slaughter puts the Cobra Clutch onto Davis, but Davis is allowed to kind of get to the ropes a little bit there. Some teasing that there is a way out of the move, but Slaughter actually wins with the move. And then we kind of do see that the talk of future teaming, including Ivan Koloff and Ole Anderson talking about teaming. Anderson also talks about putting none other than Ray Stevens in his place for taking one half of the tag team championships, and basically still implies the Andersons still have rights to it, even though Gene Anderson hasn't been around in a while. Anyway, we will be back with more right after this.